All right. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And on behalf of the SPE-KSA chairman, who is here with us today, Mr. Abdelaziz Sfayan, and on behalf of the SPE-KSA technical and professional programs, I'd like to welcome you to another installment of the SPE-KSA webinar series. So before we start, our chairman, Mr. Abdelaziz Sfayan, would like to say a few words. Mr. Abdelaziz, the floor is yours.
All right, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, Elizabeth. It's an honor to have you with us today. And I would like to sincerely thank ATD for this great collaboration opportunity. The thanks goes to Suad as well for her actually efforts and consistency and commitment in order for us to collaborate with such a distinguished association. I'm looking forward for more collaboration between us. And I'm looking forward for this webinar. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdelaziz. So this evening, we are happy to collaborate with the Association for Talent Development Middle East and North Africa Member Network to bring you this webinar. My name is Rawat Tawfiq, and I am a member of the SPE-KSA Technical and Professional Programs team. Before I introduce our speaker for this evening, please note that we will be taking your questions after the presentation is over. You can submit your questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, and depending on the time, we will do our best to go through all of your questions. All right, I'd like to give a very warm welcome to our speaker, Ms. Elizabeth Hanna, who will be sharing with us what is required to upskill for a digital learning transformation, something that we have all experienced heavily this past year. Elizabeth Hanna is the Associate Director of Learning Delivery and the Association for Talent Development, or ATD. She is responsible for the Facilitator Integrated Talent Management Strategy and its implementation for the global team of ATD facilitators. For ATD's education program deliveries outside of the US, she oversees facilitator recruitment, training, management, content translation and development, sales training, and logistics. Elizabeth has extensive experience in successfully developing cutting-edge programs for the talent development profession, converting face-to-face programs to the virtual classroom, and launching new partnership programs in Dubai and China. And before I hand it off to our speaker, again, I'd like to remind you to write your questions in the Q&A tab, and we will go over them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. I sort of forgot a little bit about things that I've accomplished. But good afternoon, good evening, and it really truly is an honor for me to be here with this wonderful org team, and hoping that this will be a positive and productive time for you. But I want to get started. Before we start getting into the actual presentation, I want to hear from you all. If you can share with me in chat, what do you think is digital learning? I want to just level set the playing field or the pitch with everybody. Tell me, what do you think is digital learning? Please feel free to just grab away in chat. Just type away what you think digital learning is. Don't be shy. So, and your chat button, if you can find it, is up on the right-hand side there, I think. And so online learning, yep, thank you, Roa, that's right. Yeah, digital learning is online, yes. Online learning, you're right, yep. It's learning through digital platforms, exactly, yep. It's, right, it's using technology, yep. So it's that. Anybody else have anything that they would like to add into this? Okay, Good. Thank you. So digital learning, it's all of that and then a little bit more. So how I'm going to be defining and talking about digital learning today is that it's facilitated by technology that gives learners some element of control over their time, their place, and their learning path that they want to take. Digital learning can help make things more interactive. It can make it more engagement, and it can make it exciting. And so, which is one of the brilliant parts about digital learning. And the third thing about digital learning is something that we don't always necessarily consider, is that it enables more data-informed decisions. By tracking what you've used in your technology, you can track the assessments, it can track your performance, it can track learning transfer, and it's a great way for then how do you want to inform your future decisions by the data that comes out of the digital learning. So this is a real another added benefit to digital learning. So I've got one more question for you guys. And so think back before the pandemic, okay? Why was digital learning on the rise? We were already using it, but why was it on the rise even before the pandemic? So it feels like that's all we've been doing the last 12 months. So tell me in chat, why was it on the rise? Flexibility, exactly. People wanted that flexibility, right? Yep. What else? They were already working from home. Now it's accelerated. You're right, exactly. Cost efficient, yep. It was ease of access. It was much more cost effective. Technology is the future, right, Sarah? It is the future. Cost effectiveness. Anybody else want to add in why why it was on the rise even before the pandemic? Because it feels like it just exploded. Global access. Maybe less opportunities for physical activity, but right, that's definitely was an opportunity that came out of the pandemic. The costs were right that it. We wanted to break down the limitations, things that were helping people, wanted to enable people to achieve their goals in all different ways. 100%. Thank you guys. This is absolutely great. Wonderful feedback. So I'm going to talk to you. This is great. So I want to share with you a little bit about the modern learner. Now, the modern learner has been around for a while. And this is actually research that was done 5 years ago from Burson by Deloitte. You guys might have already seen this. It's very popular. When I've spoken in the region, I've talked about the modern learner, but it continues to be so relevant because it really does speak to us today in 2021. And because what we all know, and you all are talent development professionals, is that we know people, they only have 1% of their work week that they can devote to focusing on training and development. 1%. Well, I'm going to explore a few of these other points with about in this infographic. Untethered. So you all mentioned this, that we are much more flexible and we're much more mobile. And during the pandemic, we were you know, prior to the pandemic, 30% of us were working someplace else other than their office. So this is what was happening we found in 5 years ago. And now we know that it is much more the norm. What we've also learned, and you guys know this, is that people, they do not want to watch any videos that are longer than 4 minutes. So this is a true thing that we've all got low attention spans. It's not just children. It's everybody in the workforce that has it. And that's what that research found out for us. Collaboration. People are collaborative. Even during the pandemic, people were coming together. They were playing their games together. They were also interacting, working on their projects. We saw that with the heavy use of teams across organizations. And so, and that people are, they are asking others. People want to share information. They want to hear from their peers. It's very important and critical with that. So this is my other one of my favorite things that is going to be my mantra for today. In case you didn't know this, designers of online learning, that's e-learning or on demand, you have 5 to 10 seconds to grab somebody's attention. You have 5 to 10 seconds before they click away. Just think about what we do that. Just think about that for yourself right now. And this is my personal all-time favorite with this, is that people unlock their phone 9 times per hour. Now, I promise I have tucked my phone away. I'm not unlocking it. I'm sure you guys are not looking at your phones, but if you need to, that's okay. I understand. We just have to remember our learners, they are distracted. They don't have a lot of time. You got to get their attention, but they want to collaborate. Hence the need for digital learning and how the rise of it with it. So why are we talking about upskilling now? We feel like we've already done that, haven't we? I mean, we've survived the pandemic, we've pivoted, we've done all things, but LinkedIn Learning came out with a research report in January or early February of this year, and it had some really interesting nuggets of information, and that they told us that upskilling and reskilling is the top priority for L&D across the globe. And what they found is that we're in a phase of building resiliency that includes digital fluency. We are building resiliency. We knew that because we were all having to be resilient in the last 12 months, but it also means we're having digital fluencies. So this is what their organizations, this is a top skills gap that people are addressing, that gap of being resilient and the gap of digital fluency. So that this is something that organizations across the globe are focusing on. They've also have come together and have found, their research said, is that people are coming together for engagement. But how does this all relate to the work that we do? And it's that blended learning is here. It's here, we know it, it's here to stay. The research is showing that there is less instructor-led training, ILT is how folks call it, and more online learning. So here is the graph from the LinkedIn Learning report, is that you can see in that less instructor-led, they had 38% in 2020, now they're moving to 73%. And more online learning, they had 57%, and now it's moved in 21 into 79%. So the data is there, and you guys are right on track in wanting to make sure that you are reskilling and upskilling. So the rapid upskilling and reskilling, why is this? And well, it's because we know that organizations, are not racing to come back face to face. We've learned that in 2020. We've learned that we've had to be fluid and that we've had to pivot. And that online learning, it really does give you superior coverage in terms of reach, accessibility, and learning content. You all mentioned that in our chat earlier when we got started with it. The World Economic Forum, it came out with a report in 2020 of October, and it is seeing a shift in the division of labor between humans and machines. And so in seeing how the jobs are shifting, and that there will be 97 million new jobs created in 2025 based on this changing in the division of labor. And the organizations have seen this and they know this. So we've got some large global organizations, and they're doing something that's called future proofing. And they are arming their employees to be skilled for the work, the needed in the new world of work. So they're planning far out. And so in the research came out, Amazon, they're spending 70 million on upskilling their employees. This is a tech company that is spending money on upskilling their employees. PricewaterhouseCoopers, also they go by the brand PwC, they are spending even more money on all of their 275,000 because they're knowledge-based. That is their currency in knowledge base. And what they do, they are calling it future proofing. They are wanting to make sure that their employees are ready, that they have that digital fluency that is needed with it for the future. And here is what the research looks like. And you can see how the shift in people are spending money. They are spending it on upskilling and reskilling. Then they're spending it on leadership management, and they're spending it on virtual onboarding. This is from all of the organizations that were surveyed in the report. But this is a big shift right in here, because leadership and management used to be for us #1. But now we're seeing that this upskilling is sort of moving ahead. And that's really, it's good for us, because that's the business that we are in, is of training and upskilling and reskilling our employees. So, but what does it mean for us? And when I was going through the ATD research, and this is the reason why I asked you to talk about what's digital learning, because it is a lot of different things. And it's just, and so I'm going to talk to you in a little bit more depth about 4 methods that you can consider I want to make sure you've got a diverse toolkit in your digital fluency. So what I'm going to talk about are video recordings, on demand, which is that e-learning piece. We talk more about simulations and scenario-based, and then I'm going to talk with you about chatbots. So ATD came out with a research report in 2020 on video recording and video learning and how to make it engaging, reaching, and influencing. And this is what our research found for us, that we saw a huge change from 2013 to 2018, that the needle really moved from 28% to 55% people are using video recording in their training, in their learnings. They're using it in all types of learning. They're using it in all types of programs. So it's more than just, your onboarding program when you're orienting people to how to fill out their pay sheet, their times. It's in every component of a learning program now. So that means any video content. It doesn't have to be homegrown, yet you have to have copyright permission. Yet what you're going to see is the research is going to say that having it to be homegrown is desirable. So the key for upskilling, these are the things to remember when you're thinking about, I need to get up to speed on video recording. You need to know how to use it. You need to understand how to embed it, how to choose it, and how to build your own. And when we talk about choose it, how to make sure you're choosing the right content for the right program and for the right skill or knowledge that you are building. You want learning transfer from everything, and that means it's just important to have that in the videos. Just don't choose any video because it's fun and that it's nice and it's great visuals. It really needs to be relevant. But people are building their own. We are seeing a huge shift in that, building your own. So as I said, know what good is. We all know what bad is. We've seen bad, a lot of bad over the last 12 months. So really understanding how well it is good. And remember back to that modern learner, it really needs to get its message across right up front, no more than 4 minutes, and really needs to grab their attention. And you grab people's attention by being relevant. We've learned all of this from YouTube. Sort of it's applying the YouTube principle to when we're using digital video recording in our training programs. And keep it short. That is the mantra that we have to say. And we talk about this a lot, and then you'll be surprised how many people are still thinking, 5 minutes, that's short. 6 minutes, it's short. And it's not. It's keeping it down to below 4 minutes and really keeping it into that 2-minute mark. So let's talk about on demand. Something we have all been doing it. When I mean on demand, I'm talking about e-learning, asynchronous, where it's just you're learning. You're learning anytime, anywhere that you want to do. This is where we see the fast pace of change. There is a lot of change in here coming. And it's this anytime, anywhere access. It's much more, there's a lot of fluidity that is coming with this with on-demand now. It's enabling people to take it with them wherever they go, and they want to learn it wherever they want to. The key to this, when you're upskilling, when you're looking at your thinking, I need to get more up to speed with this, it's how do I apply adult learning principles? Don't forget about adult learning. It still is relevant. And this is the #1 thing that people mistake that they make when they are building out an on-demand program. A lot of times they think they can just convert a PowerPoint, throw it into a program, and that it will work. So you really need to spend some time understanding what good is. And a good is that there's a lot of interaction with it. There is variety in there, in your voices, and if you're using animation, if you're using live individuals talking, and but all about it is these interactions. It's keeping people motivated. We have all had to take a program where it's required that we have to take, and we're just sitting, clicking, answering questions. Then we click, answer questions, click, answer questions. Maybe we go to the bathroom, we get some water, we might get a snack to start back up because I've got to get myself continue through this mandatory training program. No, not that I've ever had to take any like this, but maybe I have, but we all know about it. And so really I'm learning what that good looks like, which is keeping its variety and keeping folks motivated while still applying adult learning principles. Remember our friend, 5 to 10 seconds. That's how you have to grab somebody's attention in the first 5 to 10 seconds. So that's from what our modern learner told us. So simulations and scenario-based learning. And ATD did another research report recently that's talked about simulations and how they're being used, and scenario-based. And you guys, again, we've done a lot of this, but it really is much more relevant for our digital fluency. And what do I mean by simulations? We have tech-based simulations. That's the role plays that we have in a virtual classroom. You know, we all know about role plays in face-to-face, but we do have tech. You all should be doing tech role plays when you are in a Zoom or a WebEx training program. You can still be using them there. But you can also, in a non-tech base, that's where you do the live drills. You are actually learning and you're actually applying and specific skills with it. So scenario-based, this is a case method, but I'm going to talk about it more in the e-learning world, and that this is where learners, you experience different branches of an example situation based on your decision, but you do not actually do much practice with it. But as based on your decisions, then you would go this way and then you would go that. But it's a little bit like what we've learned in online games, in that if you make this decision, you go there, a little bit of this decision there, and then you hit a wall. And so, but this is not gamification. This is, you're using a scenario, a real world scenario, and people are having to make decisions based on what they have learned, and then they are getting feedback as they go through the various scenarios, and then they can continue on with the scenario. Or if they made the wrong decision, the scenario will say, not quite right, go back and learn X with this. And this is where a lot of your data helps in embedding and enabling your scenarios. So I'm going to give you some examples of how people, so let's talk first about, so what we were doing 5 years ago, we had using tech-based simulations. We had 75% use non-tech, 88% were using scenario-based. So 5 years ago, it's been around, but look at the huge jump. Now we're using tech-based in 75%, 87% are using non-tech based, and look at this, 98% are using scenario based. So this is a huge shift that in how people are changing and adapting their on demand, that they are building in those scenarios and that they're making sure that they are meaningful and relevant to the knowledge and learning transfer that you want. And 85% are now building this in-house. So a lot of times we saw a shift that people were outsourcing, but now people are building it in-house. So they've got some experience in with that. So these are things that are critical as you upskill. So I just wanted to refresh on the terms again, that what we had talked about, just so everybody is relevant with this. How I went into scenario based was e-learning examples, the branching, and the simulations are really role plays and live drills. So how are they being used? This is what we always want to know, like, which is the good content? How are they doing that? What our study found is that we are using for interpersonal skills training, that 61% are using non-tech based simulations. And they also are using this in scenario based learning. Leadership and management, again, non-tech, but it's also scenario-based is for leadership and management, which seems appropriate when somebody's having to make decisions when you're asking them for their expertise with this. Mandatory and compliance, that is a lot are doing in tech-based simulations in there, but also you're seeing some scenario-based is coming out as well. New employee onboarding, it's sort of spread across the board. Sales, product training, they're using scenario-based. It seems logical because you have all sorts of sales scenarios, and we were doing these case studies when we were just in facilitator-led, and now we're adapting it for the on-demand. But when you've got technical process and procedures, things that you want to make sure that everybody has to do it right, they do it right, they do it right, that's when you're seeing it in technology-based simulations. So the one I'm going to talk now is about chatbots. And remember when we used to go out to dinner and you'd have a reservation and then you get a reminder, your reservation is coming up in 30 minutes, leave your house now and you will get there on time. Remember when we traveled and we got on a plane and you would get a little note to say, a little reminder, oh, your flight has changed. Your flight is changing. You need to get to the gate now. All of those things that we came through, that is that's essentially, it's chatbots. It's the nudge technology. And it is amazing and relevant for learning and development, not just to get people to the airport on time. As I like to call it, nudge technology. It's that reminders of you were going to do the task, holding you accountable to this action that you agreed to. It's really popular in the wellness world right now, reminding people, have you done your meditation? Have you breathed? Same thing can be done in the workplace learning. And this study was done in 2019 by Bear, and they used it for coaching for their sales folks. So the reminders, but the key thing about it is that it comes from your phone. Doesn't come out of the computer, it's reminding you that way. So Bear Australia, what they did was for their sales manager training program. And they had a phone-based learning transfer coaching that they would actually use and that they would implement. And they had to submit action plans at the end of their instructor-led, their ILT experience. And then they had to submit their action plans, and then they would get a message that said, 30 days, you said you would be doing X, how are you doing? Then they would say, I didn't hear from you, and I nudged you 2 days ago, how are you doing? And this is where it gets into the data. is this gives you amazing data and how people are using what they have learned. And then you can see all of the data and they're answering all of the data with this. So then you can see habits that have come from this, and it absolutely helps Bear to inform how to adjust and train their program, adjust their training program, as well as to see how effective it was and to be able to demonstrate results from this program. But that's what the data helps. Chatbots are really data driven. And they used a platform called Mobile Coach. I'm not going to mention other platforms with it. There are a lot that are out there now for for using with the nudge technology. I love the nudge technology, and so, but it's essentially treating it as your own mobile coach. So we're going to pivot a little bit to what ATD has done, and this might surprise you, but ATD, we launched a new learning platform in 2020, and so there's some things that we're doing now that we weren't doing in 2019, and which might surprise you, thinking that we might have been, as the leader of as the profession, things that it took for us to adapt with it. And so we have a new platform. We just added our ebooks. We just got it for our platform here. So any books that go along with our programs and our participant guides, we've just have added them into our platform. We have combined instructor-led with on-demand. So our master trainer program is a great program. It used to just all be facilitator-led. Now, part of it is it's an 8-week journey. Part of those weeks you are on demand. You have a facilitator guiding you on the side in the on-demand. You come together face to face. And then you continue with on-demand. So we really have built out a robust on-demand program, a blended learning program, and that the on-demand supports, it complements, it is essential to it. It's not additive. And a lot of times people will think on-demand will be an extra. No, this is actually folded in. And the technology there, we can tell if people have been using it, how they're answering their questions. We've built in intercession work. This is something where it's always is a challenge whether or not you want your facilitators to do it or not, but it's really been, we have structured it. So we've told them, this is what you need to do at this between each week, kept it very, so we have that consistent learning experience with it. And we have a structured discussion board. A lot of times it's like, oh, just chat and free flow. Well, if you don't have a free flow, you don't have an organized discussion, people are not going to remember, they're distracted. But if they have to get on there and have a discussion, they can discuss something relative to that. And they can still have free flow conversations. We use this, the discussion boards are always moderated by a real facilitator, not by a machine, by a real facilitator. And I wanted to share with you, this is a screenshot of our APTD program, preparation program. It's all on demand, and you can see we are global. So we have one of our facilitators, Aya Medhat. She is from Riyadh, and she is the guide on the side in this platform for individuals. And this is where people can, and helps them as they are studying and preparing for the APTD. So I'm going to give you another example from one of our courses, and it's a little bit different. It's Adobe Captivate, which is, everybody I'm sure knows it's the software that you use to build e-learning. And here it is. This is when you join the program. This is what you see. You can see, you go right where you get your pre-work. You can see, we have the days 1 and days 2. These are online programs. So you're online for the full day. And after that, their learning objectives, what to expect. It's right in there. Attendance policy, it's always important. Here we get them going, starting to introduce themselves right away here. They would download their pre-work, and this is what they would see for their materials. We've just have put in our ebooks on bookshelf. This is something that ATD has worked on for several years. So we appreciate how hard it is. This is going to shock you all, but we used to mail this book out. We were mailing it all out through, even through the 2020, prior to people taking this program, because it's a sort of, Captivate, you need another book to help you understand the different programs. We were mailing this out. I know, but we're not now. But we were mailing it out through even midway through 2020 with it. And because it protects the copyright, it wasn't, and that's the reason why we couldn't just send out a PDF. So here it is, the ebook, you would join it there. We also have the participant guide, as well as program files that you need if you are working through a software program. But I wanted just to pull this out as an illustrative example for you of how ATD has had to evolve, and how we are constantly continuing and improving our digital transformation, as well as, so we are on the same journey as many of you all are on. So I've got some resources. We've talked a lot about ways that you could want to upskill. We have a program, ATD Blended Learning, and it's really about selecting the appropriate mix of your learning technologies. I have in here moving away from the buzzwords. A lot of people like to say they've got a blended learning approach, but if it's not intentional, it's not designed, it just looks nice. And it really needs to be effective in the sound solutions with this. You might not need to build out a full on-demand program. You might just be able to have a video with this. You might be able to combine some face-to-face with some virtual led. There's a lot of different ways that you can build out this. E-learning, I talked about this. We have to understand what are the sound principles of instructional design. The content always has to be learner-centric. It can't just be great, cool graphics. And it really has to be there to enhance your learner's motivation. That is all about e-learning. Remember, I talked about that boring compliant training that I've had to take, we've all had to take, and then we stop and we go get something to drink, and then we come back. E-learning needs to be effective in keeping you motivated and engaged. That is how people learn. My other programs that we have here, we have one actually on rapid video, and this is one we've had it for quite a while, but it's still coming, and we do deliver it virtually. And you learn how to create videos, productions, recording, and sounds. As the research showed, people are building their own now. They're using it some form. You're using your available equipment. So a lot of people are using their phones to be building it in and to be adding it on in there, or using their laptops. The cool thing about this program is that you look at human cognition. How do people remember and apply what they've learned from a video, and how that applies to media content. And one other thing that we have moved to, and that we've recently launched, is we do have an on-demand program that is exclusively on-demand e-learning on instructional design. So it is all about just learning how to do instructional design. You can decide if you want to just focus on e-learning, or if you just want to focus on virtual learning, or if you want to focus on face-to-face learning. But that we've launched this, and it is the full ISD process, and you get it when and where you want. You would complete a capstone to earn your certificate. So you can decide if you don't want to earn the capstone, you don't want to earn the certificate, but I just need to understand pieces of the program. But as I mentioned, we always have an expert facilitator that is in the on-demand setting, that they are required to be online, chatting with you, answering your questions. So speaking of questions, I think it's time that we open up for some questions from you all. So if you want to go on into the Q&A part there, and so I don't see that we've got any questions, but I'll let you think about some questions that you have, and just go on in and answer, put them in the under the Q&A feature. And I will see the questions and then repeat them out loud for folks.
So thank you, Ms. Elizabeth. In the meantime, until we get some questions, I have a question for you.
Okay, great.
So something that sparked my attention was the virtual role play. Could you maybe give an example for that? That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's, a lot of people are intimidated by role plays, right? We love role plays as talent development people, but our clients say, no, no, no. So you would actually give them a scenario and you would assign everybody a different role. Somebody would be the client, somebody would be the consultant. And so it's a very structured scenario, just like you would be doing it face to face. And then people work through it. Folks would observe the role play as it's going, and then they would give it feedback. So it would be just as structured. You're just doing this in either in Zoom or in WebEx or in Teams. We use this technique a lot in our programs where it's a soft skill and where people are having to have practice those conversations. It's really good for when you're having practicing how to have effective interactions with your stakeholders or giving performance feedback. We know it works face to face, and so we're doing it virtually. We have somebody that our company has asked about a local agent. We can definitely provide information for you on that. The question I have, do you think also using gamification in your learning experience? And what do you think about it? I definitely love the gamification, and I purposely did not use gamification in this because it is very important for folks. It's a good element. It has to be done right with it, and there's a whole way and different strategy with it. But gamification is definitely a way to keep people engaged. It's a lot of times it's a way to supplement additional learning that people have in their programs where they're competing at different levels outside of the program. So it's a great way to blend, but again, it all needs to be tied back to what are the learning objectives and what's the knowledge transfer that you want people to do, and is gamification appropriate, not just because it sounds like it's fun. So somebody has a question, is whether e-learning is adequate for everyone, as e-learning requires self-discipline, self-motivation. It may not be well received by some. Can I comment on that? That's an excellent point. And we have to, think about who is in our workforce now. These folks have been, and we're thinking about getting back to the modern learner. They want this information available to them when they want it, at the time they want it. They want to constantly be learning. So it is incumbent upon us to give all sorts of different options with it. There are many people who are very comfortable in the e-learning, and there's those that are not. But it is part of the resiliency and being able to pivot. Sometimes it's easier to train a piece of content in an e-learning platform rather than pull your instructors away, pull your classroom away, taking everybody off work for set 2 hours where they could have learned the same thing, got the same learning knowledge transfer in a 30-minute e-learning. It's incumbent on us. Remember, what did I say? That 5 to 10 minutes that we have time to grab somebody's attention. So I always put it back on the individuals. And I don't necessarily blame the learners not being motivated. I said, did we as designers and create it as an experience that was engaging with it? And I am a new trend. I'm a new person to come to embracing e-learning and the on-demand. So the question Mustafa has is, how much digital learning is effective compared to face-to-face? And it's digital learning, it is we're looking at all different types of digital learning. Can mean it's lots of different types in with it. I think digital learning is a great way to blend it in with your instructor-led experience. An instructor-led can be face-to-face, in person, or in the virtual classroom. I believe we've all learned that people can really learn in the virtual classroom, and we should not count that out. We should be treating that as face-to-face, that same type of experience. It's not the same engagement that you can have, not where you can see people and you can chat over morning tea and have that same connections, but well-designed virtual training can get you to that same outcome. And from ATD's perspective, we've been doing virtual learning since 2008, and all of our programs we've been converting, and we've had the same feedback and net promoter scores for our virtual learning and our face-to-face. You just have to spend the time to design it well to make sure you've got that right kind of human engagement with it. How do we deal with COVID routines and awareness and e-learning? Oh, this is a great question. I think we just have to acknowledge that there is fatigue. I think that it's and also an understanding, and that it might be maybe giving people longer time to learn something, or maybe sure people understand why they are learning. Or you have shorter interactions now with people. One of the ways that we've done it, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive, is we have faced that we have converted our programs so that they're all day deliveries. Now, this just might be sound crazy, like you're blowing my mind. You know, we're tired of being online, but actually what we have seen is that people like setting their day aside. They're not having to multitask. You know, they're just are focused on learning, and they're not having to worry about work the same way if they were in a face-to-face class. And our evaluation results are great. So that's one way with it, but I think it's just being mindful of it and acknowledging that we're seeing this. There's the online, there was a question about for oil and gas and doing digital learning, found employees dislike the on-learning, the engagement level is pretty low. Then I would think I would look back into how your programs are designed. Are they very click, click, click? And then same, is it a really same experience that you have? Or do you have a great video for somebody really relevant, and then they answer questions based on that? And your content is broken down into small chunks with it. That's a way to keep people engaged, but it's incumbent upon us that we understand making sure you know what is good, is engaging, and keeping it chunked down so that you're not asking somebody to do an online learning program like on demand for a long period for like 3 hours. That right there, you will get for fatigue. It's different than when you're in the virtual classroom when they can chat and live, but it's when you're just doing it on demand. You can see I'm talking to my computer. It's really keeping that down to really no more expectations that they're not in it for more than 60 minutes. Do you think we're going to come from a way we're only strictly learning? No, I don't personally. This is Elizabeth Hanna talking. I don't think so. We see people who are coming together all the time, that they are wanting to be back in the classroom. We have delivered trainings in the US in some organizations where they are face-to-face. People do want to come together, and there still is a lot of content that is very relevant. If you're learning a very specific skill and you need to be practicing on your machine and your tool, then yes, you needing to be there. But I do think we are going to be seeing a mix. They might not be all together for the same length of time. That's what we are seeing in the trend. Engagement enhancement they're subjective buzzwords. As a developer, I'm frustrated how easily terms are used. How can we really enhance learner engagement? And so, Nitin, thank you. That's it is really, it's almost, you have to get into the learning science and getting back to cognition and how people are motivated. Michael Allen has done a lot of research on how to keep people motivated, engaged. And what we have found is effective scenario-based in an on-demand program is a way for people to learn. Another way is adaptive learning, where you program in answers, and as people are answering questions, you realize that they are more advanced than they are. So the course actually, then it moves them faster to mastery. But it really is understanding all of that learning and the cognition areas. Somebody asked me a question about our Producing Virtual program. What can people expect from it? So thank you. It's a great course, and it's actually, producers are the guide on the side. They're not actually leading the course. They are there as a they're enabling the facilitator to be what they are regarding content, but the producer handles technology and how do they keep the program on track with it. So you will expect to learn what is to be, how is a good producer. You learn how to deal with crises when they happen. There's competencies that are required with producers and how to work effective with producers, and the ways that you can support your facilitator, but not actually taking over from your facilitator with that. It's the technology behind the breakouts and the polls and all of that, because many of that comes on the burden of on the producer with it. And so what can you tell teachers currently teaching online? That's a great question. I think it is remembering back to our modern learner. We have a rule of thumb at ATD that you do not lecture more than 5 minutes and you're in online, and that you ask for some form of engagement. And it can't just be you raise your hand and give me a smiley face, that you have to be engaging with people throughout the program. And you have to separate between engagement, which is like checking in and the raising the hands, through application, and ensuring that you have built in effective activities where people can be learning with it. It's amazing. People are still coming to ATD after 12 months of pandemic on how do I improve my online facilitators, their effectiveness, that they've gotten really good. But anyway, they're just leaning and talking to PowerPoint. There's so many people that are just doing that. And so there's a lot of ways that people can be doing it now, but it's remembering what you did well, what made you a success face-to-face will also make you a success in the virtual classroom by being learner-centric, adapting, and not being afraid to try your regular activities, spending some time on your design, using your polls, using, pairing chats, all sorts of different activities. Nitin asked me about cognitive thinking. How can we rely on our management? How can we relate to our management what scientifically works versus what looks nice with all the bells and whistles, yet it's ineffective? Well, that, I think something that looks nice can also be effective. It's, it is ensuring that what you're designing gets you to that cognition, and then gets you to the thinking. So it's adapting and ensuring what the design is, that it is effective. And all learning leaders, people want it. This is investment. People are spending millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what your leaders want. They want people to be able to walk away from your program and be able to apply what they've learned. And so that's incumbent upon us to say, we're going to use this technique, we're going to use this technique, because this is how we know people will be able to apply. And that's where it gets back to that data can help you with it. So I think we have gotten through all of the questions. And so are there any more questions? We have just a few more minutes, and I know you all want to get to dinner or start making dinner, get to your families, or get back to work.
All right, I think we're good. Thank you very much, Ms. Elizabeth, for that very informative talk. And a special thanks for the Association for Talent Development for their collaboration today. Be sure to follow SPE-KSA on Twitter and LinkedIn for news about our upcoming webinars. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, take care. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.